What's up, everybody? Christian Fowler here. Joining me, my guy, Kenny Stubblefield. If you see us together, it always means breaking news. And today, I think we're going to have some decently controversial news. People are going to be kind of split on, I don't even know if split. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people have their opinions and it's been well known. But we'll get right to it. Malcolm Dandridge returning to the University of Memphis after entering the transfer portal. Like I said, a lot of people have made their thoughts very well known about where they stand on Malcolm Dandridge. A lot of people were excited to see him leave, but you still have, I'm not, no disrespect. Like me and Kenny have made it very well known where we stand on Malcolm. Known him since high school. I think his junior year in high school was
Yeah.
when we first met him. We love Malcolm Dandridge. Like
Yeah.
I'm personally excited.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah.
I don't care what everybody else
I don't
thinks.
care what you think. I don't
No.
care if you don't like it.
No, I love Malcolm. Me, Kenny, and Malcolm all have a good relationship. So if people are expecting me to sit here and bash Malcolm,
It
it's
ain't
not going to
happening.
happen. It's
It
not
ain't
going to happen.
happening.
He's
Nope.
my guy. I love Malcolm. But there have been fans that were a big fan of him leaving. There have been fans that want him back. You know that have loved him since he was in high school and followed him while he was at East. Under Penny and with James Wiseman. So it's pretty split, but I think the louder group has been the group that has, been excited that he was gone and did not want him to come back.
Isn't that always kind of the case, though, Christian?
Yeah. The detractors or the people that are on the negative side of things, and I'm not even bashing those people.
No,
Like,
no.
have
an
your opinion. I
Yeah.
have negative opinions on players and stuff at times too. So like, have your opinion on it. But yes, that group that is in kind of like I don't even want to say negative side necessarily, but like the group that stands more firm on their opinion is typically counterculture, I guess. It's a different thought. So
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. I mean, you have your opinion on the team and the way that it should be shaped. And I don't even necessarily know if me being excited about it is because of the team and what it does for the team. I just love Malcolm and we get another year to cover him and talk to him and be around him. So that's kind of where I stand on it. But from a basketball perspective, Kenny, what does it do? Like, are there what's the plus? What's the minus? Like, where do you stand on it?
Yeah. I mean, it is August 24th, and you just added a 6'10" true center right after adding a 6'11" true center in the portal. And so now you have a solidified front court.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You got a guy in Malcolm who has played, countless minutes for Penny over the years, who understands his system, who knows what Penny expects from him, who understands the culture of Memphis, the culture of the basketball program, and you've just added him back to the program. Now, this isn't a commitment, I wouldn't say. This is more so just him coming back. And And to me, it's a, obviously there are, concerns in terms of, personally with Malcolm, just his health in general that have kind of kept him away from being the guy that we all thought he was going to be when he came into the program. But man, you're talking about a guy who, when healthy, when he's playing in those little spurts that he gets, has been a very serviceable big man in the college game.
Yeah, I think, honestly, a lot of the dislike for Malcolm, or not even dislike, I've honestly, surprisingly, I've seen a lot of people do this very respectfully of just like, we love Malcolm. We've enjoyed having him here, but it was just time to move on. So a lot of people have done it respectfully. And I think a lot of that came from the NCAA tournament game last year, what happened with him and Kendrick Davis on the floor. And I get that. Optically looked terrible. A lot of people have said that's what cost them the game. So I understand that. I get that. Like, people were not a fan of what happened on the floor. You and I weren't a fan of what happened on the floor, especially in that moment of just like, how can this be happening right now? It's been kept together all year. But I don't want to harp on the past too much.
Hey, can I tell you something real quick? Interrupt you for a second. Guess who else wasn't a fan of what happened on the floor? Malcolm Dandridge.
Yeah.
Did not like what happened on the floor that night.
Yeah. And once again, like, we talked about it when this happened. Like, this wasn't, I think people have made this a bigger deal than it truly is. Like, Malcolm's a bad teammate, yada, 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 all this stuff. It was just the heat of the moment, the heat of battle, two competitive player, like whatever it was. So I don't think that should have much merit on this and how you feel about Malcolm.
Yeah.
as a player or person or whatever. Because if you rewind to that game, Malcolm was playing his butt off and playing well, blocking shots, playing around the rim. And honestly, I think Penny just left him on the floor too long.
Yep.
I think he needed to come out. I think he was clearly gassed and needed to come out, and people were upset about that too. Like, why is he gassed at this? Well, he had just come back less than a month before this, after really not even being able to practice or anything. He played that Houston game without even practicing, just came
Yep.
straight to the game and played. So it's not like he had this full season to be in shape to play basketball. So, I mean, it's understandable why he was gassed, and he was playing extremely hard, going up and down the floor. So just to get away from that, I wanted to hit on that a little bit, but
Yeah.
to get away from that, the overall, I think it's a good addition. Like, it's a player with familiarity. You get a player that is a veteran, has been in this system, has been in the game of college basketball, adding to the veteran presence that this team already has. And then when you think about the DeAndre Williams stuff, if they are able to get DeAndre Williams back, which that's a different story for a different day, because you got people all over the place on that as well, on their feelings on if he will or if he won't be able to come back. But if your front court going into the year is Jordan Brown, Malcolm
Oh
Dandridge,
God.
Nick Jourdain, DeAndre Williams, like, you're 4 deep and feeling very good about any of those guys on the floor in any combination, whether it be because of defensive upside or offensive upside or a combination of both or rebounding, whatever it is. Like, you have a very, very talented, experienced front court that can help you win games, which is something that Memphis has not had under Penny Hardaway. They've had
No.
good front court
They've had
players
good players
individually,
100%.
Jalen Duren and Precious Achiuwa being the main guys that stand out from the pack in that, but they weren't surrounded with other players who could help them and alleviate some of that pressure off of them.
Yep.
And I think Malcolm does that for a guy like Jordan Brown, who's not going to come off the floor much, more than likely. But to have someone that can come in and play spot minutes, play whatever, 8 to 12 a game, whatever he's needed, depending on the game and situation, like, Malcolm is perfect for that because he plays well in smaller spurts. So if you need to get Jordan Brown off the floor, if you're in a situation where it looks like it's going to be a close game down the stretch, you need Jordan in for the last 6-8 minutes or whatever, and you want to rest him, Malcolm's perfect to come in and not lose a lot. Yes, you lose a lot offensively because Malcolm's not the scorer that Jordan Brown is, but I think from a production standpoint of what you're going to get defensively, what you have as just a team and a unit, I just don't think you lose a lot with him overall. Once again, not saying Malcolm is Jordan Brown, and Jordan Brown's one of the best bigs in the country. So don't mix that up. But I just think he's someone that can come in and keep the rhythm going if Jordan Brown needs to come out. So I love it. And if you need to play some kind of massive lineup for whatever reason, have 2 true centers on the floor and try to be like the Minnesota Timberwolves, you can.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that happening. I don't think that's the best strategy.
Let's hope not.
I don't think that's the best strategy in modern day basketball. But I love the depth that it adds for the front court and the veteran presence, and I think that's the 2 biggest keys for me on it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And again, it's hard to be unbiased when it comes to this because of how deeply we care about Malcolm, and I want to, like, my hope is that what's that old saying? Winning cures all ills,
everything.
Cures everything. This team is going to be really talented, and I really want Malcolm. I'm excited that Malcolm gets to play on a team that is very talented, where he's not expected to carry a major load for that team.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to kind of end his career at Memphis in a way that every player from Memphis that plays for Memphis should be able to. That's what I hope for Malcolm. And I know I'm media. I'm not supposed to. We're in the media game. We're not supposed to have those kinds of feelings towards these guys, but I just can't help it. Like, I do. I want to see Malcolm end his career at Memphis in a successful way, not just personally for him, but be a part of a team that has the potential to be one of those teams that people talk about in 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And that Malcolm was a part of that. Because if they do something this year, if they do what we think they could possibly do, forget these last 4 years.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah. We're not old school media, Kenny. We can say and do whatever we want to do.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
But yeah, to me, no negatives, really, no negatives. I mean, I love what he brings. to the floor. I always have when he's had opportunities and been engaged throughout his career, going back to his freshman year. Like
Right.
he's always had spurts that were
Right.
good. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. Like he's had stretches in games where he's been dominant defensively and helped out offensively around the glass, whether that was rebounding or finishing or whatever. So Malcolm's always been a good player, in my opinion. Like he's always been a good
Right.
player overall. Yes, he's had bad games. Yes, he's had good games. He's had ups and downs. But to me, you mentioned it at the top. Like injuries have robbed Malcolm of what could have been he could have been a very, very good, productive collegiate player his whole career. He still has the opportunity now to have a productive season. But we thought from the beginning, like Malcolm, we watched him dominate James Wiseman in practices.
Every
Me and you,
practice. Every practice.
we went to so many East practices. It was their senior year.
Yeah.
Their senior year. And Malcolm got the best of James very often.
Almost every time.
Yes. Like Malcolm was and has been a very talented player, just, knees and ankles and all these different ailments that he's had, they've held him back. And for me, the hope is, yes, obviously that he gets to go out in a good way, whether that's, a tournament run or whatever it is. Like I hope he gets to go out with a successful season, but I hope he just gets a healthy season.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think we can see him be very productive in his role if he's able to stay healthy. Because the beginning of the year before he got hurt in the Alabama game, he looked really good.
Dominant. Dominant's a tough word. He was very good. Very good in the beginning of the year.
He was good. So I think if he's able to continue to get healthy this offseason, I don't know where his health stands. I haven't, talked to him. And if when I have talked to him, I haven't asked him about his health. That just seems kind of disrespectful. But I don't know where he stands health-wise. I would imagine he's obviously probably doing better now, having the offseason since the ankle injury and everything, and kind of being rushed back in a way. So I just hope he's able to have a healthy season and be productive, and kind of that bad taste that was left in people's mouths from the tournament and from basically just from the tournament and what happened at the end of that game. Like I hope that is moved on from, and he's able to kind of get that out of people's minds, and then people don't remember him for that. And if this season's successful, if he plays a productive role, I don't think anybody will hold that against him. So once again, we've talked about needle movers all offseason. I do not think this is a massive needle mover. I don't think it makes Memphis a much better team. I don't think it makes them a worse team in any way, but it's a good piece to have.
Yeah.
And we said this with a lot of players. Nick Jourdain was another guy that we were like, maybe it's not a huge needle mover, but it's a player that you need to have for a successful team. And I think Malcolm could be that as well. So I know some people would disagree with that and not love that opinion, and that's fine. But like, that's just where I stand, because I've seen it with my own two eyes of him being a very productive player that can make a difference in 8 to 12 minutes a game, like I said.
You look at other previous Memphis rosters and you say, you look at the top 10 players that Penny has had, and you go, there's what feels like with those rosters. And I've mentioned this before, I think with me and you on one of these shows is, we were talking about Caleb Mills. There's always seemed to be somebody that's a little bit out of position in that top 10, group of guys that are supposed to be contributors. And what you do, like, imagine kind of like that tension that's added to that lineup of someone's out of position, they can fulfill that role, but it's not really, and you just kind of like a little bit.
Yeah.
This Malcolm thing, because Jordan didn't have a backup unless it was Nick Jourdain or DeAndre Williams if he comes back. And so there's going to be a little bit of a stretch there, because DeAndre Williams is better at the 4. Nick Jourdain is better at the 4. Jordan Brown is the only true 5 on that team. Adding Malcolm Dandridge to that equation kind of releases some of that tension a little bit, kind of brings that top 10 now is 2 groups of 5 that all fill a very specific role and position for this team. And that to me is something that I haven't seen Penny have in previous rosters. And it seems like with the addition of Malcolm, now you've got that with this team.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And I think that's a perfect way to end it as well. I think we've kind of said all we can say about this. Like, you guys know where we stand. We're excited. So
hey, boy,
you either love it or hate it.
So big dog, baby.
Yeah. Big Dog is back for his last year. And by the way, he had suitors out there.
He did.
This wasn't the only option.
Hey, he had suitors,
Yeah,
like big suitors.
this was not the only option. So we will leave it at that. Thank you guys for joining. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. If you're listening to this show or any of our shows, you can rate, review, and be notified when we drop episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts as well. We'll leave you with head over to bluffcitymedia.co. Check out everything we got over there, articles, podcasts, videos, one-stop shop for everything. And with that being said, me and Kenny will see you next time there is breaking news.